something you've never heard that will blow your mind. Once upon a time, I'll tell you stories from Africa. Fun enough to make you laugh. Bright enough to light your day. Super lessons you learn from it, and it makes you go. I am Grandma Wura. I am Grandma Wura.
Hello, Jaina.
Hello, Grandma Wura.
It is such a pleasure to have you here with me today. Now, do you have an idea what it is we have here?
Like a crown.
A crown, okay. What else?
A tree.
A tree. Ever heard of the singing tree? I bet you haven't. Hello, children. Welcome to Grandma Wura's Story Heart, where my stories give you wings and fly you on an African adventure. Today's story is titled The Singing Tree. Singing tree? Yes, the singing tree. Now, several years ago in the southern part of Nigeria lived a little boy called Akban. Now, Akban, had a widowed mother, and so he always loved to follow her to the farm to help her out, make work easy for her every time. And on a particular day, he had followed his mother to the farm. And while he was working on the farm, he saw something glowing on the ground. So he went closer to it to find out what it was. It was a leaf, but it glowed. He was so fascinated by this glowing leaf, he took it and put it in his pocket. So when they got home, in their compound, they had a lot of trees. They were lovers of trees, actually. And so he had taken this leaf, and planted it in the ground where a lot of trees had grown in their compound. And then he did that and just buried it and went his way. That night, usually Akban finds it very difficult to go to bed at night. He would just lay there with his eyes awake and all of that. But that particular night, while he laid in his bed, he heard a beautiful voice singing a beautiful lullaby. And, he was wondering, where is this beautiful lullaby coming from? But before he could even, think any further, he fell asleep. Now, the next day, while he was following his mother to the farm, he noticed that where he had planted that leaf the day before, a tree now stood there. A tree can't grow in a day or in one night, can it? But there was a tree there. He got a bit confused and felt, okay, am I imagining things? Okay. So he went on his way with his mom to the farm. That evening, he heard the same voice, the same lullaby. Wow. And every evening, he would hear that same lullaby for about 3 days. And he began to have the most beautiful dreams. He had very, peaceful sleeps. And so on a market day, he had followed his mom, to the market. And while they were there buying stuff, in the market, in the village, you have other people, traders come from neighboring villages as well to sell. And so while they were buying from this particular trader called Asukwo, Akban just began to hum that same
Lullaby.
the same lullaby that he has been hearing every evening. He was just whistling it, humming it, and all. And Asuko, the trader, began to look at him like that. Then he said, come here, young boy. Where did you hear that lullaby from? That lullaby is over 2,000 years old. 2,000 years old? He said, yes. And then Asuko told him about a singing tree that used to be on the outskirts of his own village. And that tree, his people believed that that tree had protected their village and made their village very prosperous. He also said that it was believed that the tree always came in a time when a particular village or location was in danger to come and protect the village. He also said that that singing tree was said to, become a green woman in the evenings and would always sing lullabies to children so that the children of the village would sleep well. But anyway, it all looked like stories, right? And his mom, Akban's mom just nodded her head like it was some tale. But Akban felt a little bit disturbed. And the moment Asuko was done talking about that, or while he was talking about that singing tree, his mind went to that tree. Remember that tree, the leaf he had planted in the compound, and he thought that tree had grown overnight. Remember that? So, when he got home, on his way home, he told his mother about that leaf that he had planted, told her about the lullaby, and also told her that he thought that tree had grown overnight. And the mother said, oh, come off it, Akpan. And he said, Mama, I will show you. So when they got home, he went to that particular tree. Guess what he did to the tree? Can you guess what he did to the tree?
He cut it down.
No, he didn't cut it down. He knocked on the tree. The tree was just there, and the mother was looking at him. And then he tried to shake the branch of the tree as well. Nothing happened. The mother was already getting bored by this time. And then, he also tried to speak to the tree. By this time, his mother was like, okay, I've had enough. And she was walking away. Giving up, he began to just hum the lullaby. And when he began to hum the lullaby, it was as if that other voice began to also hum and sing the lullaby. The mother stopped, and turned around to see this beautiful green tree in the form of a woman with beautiful flowers, glowing, singing the lullaby with Akban. She was rooted to the ground. And guess what the tree did? The tree extended her hand to Akban, opened it up. Her hand was filled with seeds, and then she poured the seeds in Akban's hand. Then she said, plant the seeds where the roots run the farthest in 2 days.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? That was quite confusing, isn't it? Then she became that still tree again. Akban's mother and himself were still rooted, frozen to the ground, as if what had just happened was a dream. And the mother said, exactly, she asked the same question you just asked. What does that mean? And while they were thinking about it, they heard the town crier of the village. Well, In 2 days, the king announces for the New Yam Festival, where everyone will be present in the village square. And then he continued, in 2 days, the king has asked me to announce to you that everybody should be present at the village square for the Yam Festival. At that moment, it clicked. The village square. You know, in every African village, the village square is where everything happens. That is where the people meet. That is where they bond. That is where so much tradition is displayed and so much happens. And they said where the roots run the farthest. That is where information is disseminated. Now, they decided that they were going to do that. And so they went immediately the next day to the village square and began to dig. They really didn't know what they were doing. But the mother, Akban, they just said, this woman, this singing tree has said we should plant. And so they began to dig. People were wondering what was going on. People were wondering what was going on with them. Why are they digging so deep at the village square? And they began to dig. They dug so far into the ground. They dug so far into the where? Into the ground. And finally, before 2 days, they planted the seeds. Now, in 2 days, what was going to happen?
A yam festival.
A yam festival. There was going to be the yam festival, the new yam festival. And so, everybody was present on that day during the new yam festival. Old, young, men, women, everybody was there. And guess what happened? All of a sudden, it began to drizzle. From drizzling, it began to rain, you know, a little bit more heavily. And then the next thing, a downpour. It was pouring like never before. Guess what?
What?
Everywhere in the village was flooded. And guess what? As the rain began to pour, trees began to grow at that village square. They began to come out from the ground. They began to grow. Around the people, there was a flood in other parts of the village except the village square. Except the where?
Village square.
The village square. There was a flood, and that flood destroyed a lot of things in that village, except the things around the village square, because the people at the village square were kept safe. Now, it dawned on the people the importance of trees, of planting trees. You know, in that village, they were popularly known for felling and selling their trees. And so they had felled a lot of trees and sold a lot of trees for money. That is why when the flood came, almost everything was lost. Everything was damaged, but they were kept safe right there at the village square with their children, their families. Going forward after that day, they decided that they would not be felling the trees the way they did anymore. And so they came together as a people, planted more trees, and built their village once again. The end. Are you going to clap for me? I hope you learned a thing or two from my story today. But not to worry, there will always be one more story for another day. Until we come your way again on the Grand Mawura's Story Heart. This is Grandma Wura and Jaina saying bye-bye. Now, tell me, Jaina, did you learn anything today? Now, tell me what you learned.
I learned that we should listen to people.
Aha! But do you have to listen to everyone? So you have to always sieve whatever it is you're hearing from people and always be sure of the people that are advising you. Anyway, but in Akpan's case, he really didn't know the singing tree. But he could feel, his mother was there and he could feel that she had a good plan for the village.
Come over.
Yes, please.
Where did the woman come from?
Well, she just comes, she appears, and then she disappears when she has done what she has to do. But you know what? I think singing tree is everywhere today because you have trees everywhere. And so these trees protect us and they make our lives better. Don't you agree? All right, awesome. Thank you.
Today, on the Grandma Wura's Story Hut, we learned that we should have the boldness to follow our hearts and do the right thing no matter what other people say, because it just might save someone's life. We also learned that trees protect us, and so we must learn to plant more trees in order to protect the earth. Discuss more of the other lessons you learned today with your parents or guardians. You can reach me at Grandma Wura on Facebook and Instagram with the supervision of an adult. Also visit www.proudafricanroots.com to get your own copy of the Grandma Wura Story Hut ebook.
Tell you something you've never heard and blow your mind. Once upon a time I told you stories from Africa. Fun enough to make you laugh. Bright enough to light your day. Super lessons you learn from it and it makes you go.